Hello students, welcome back to my class. We will continue with the story and till now we have read that the narrator of the story is a Muslim girl, and through her Chughtai tells the reader about the close relationship and the bonds shared by the two Hindu and the Muslim families for 3 generations. The struggle for freedom does not permit any animosity despite supporting and belonging to different parties. They remain friends and continue to support and care about each other through all that befalls them. But, however, after independence, the consequent movement of the Hindus and Muslims on both the sides of the border and all the atrocities committed, they actually cast a shadow of suspicion and mistrust over their age old affection and love. Now, the relatives who come from Bhavalpur, they create that rift, that chasm between these two families. When these small events get magnified and the animosity, or you can say the differences, appear in this. Now, we shall see that in the previous session we have read that the chasm was filled with venom spewing snakes. That is, the differences had become wide. When Choti Bhabhi sent word that her son had stomach ailment, Sheila Bhabhi drove the servant away, and no one made any comment. Neither did anyone speak about one's ailment in the house, and Badi Bhabhi forgot her fits of hysteria and began to pack up her belongings in haste. Now, here in this paragraph, actually, from this paragraph, we see that the differences arise, and then the previous love and affection gets affected over here, and there is suspicion and mistrust of each other in this family. So, when the members of this Muslim family get sick, and when they send a word to Dr. Roopchand ji, he does not come. So, from here, there's a description of the packing which is going on. That Amma is not ready to go. She says, "Don't touch my trunk." Amma at last broke her silence, and everyone was stunned. And then, because Amma does not want to leave her place, but Amma stays behind when they leave. In this, there's a description of how they start packing and what are the different views of the members. So, in the next paragraph, we see that there's a lot of discussion going on amongst the family members, that who will go where and why they don't want to go, and all this. So they say that they ask that, "Ebua, you are acting like a woman who would rather sit in the wilderness and seek shelter in anyone's house. Abi, stop throwing tantrums." Now, here there's a description that when Amma does not want to go, does not want to leave the place, everyone is asking her that, "Why are you behaving in such a way?" But she stays steadfast, and she says that, "I don't want to go. You all go," she says. "You all go, and for me, where shall I go at this age?" Now, here, this is a very important point, that here saying that where shall I go at this stage, because all her life she had been living in this place. If that place is not her country, not her place, then which place will be her country? So Amma refuses to go, and Amma's trunk, however, rested immobile. Now, here it says that the narrator says that if my taciturn Amma had a sharp tongue, she would have retorted, "What's this strange bird called our land? Tell me about that land. This is the place where one was born and grew up." Now, this is a very important point, and here actually Amma raises the question of belongingness. No land where one simply goes and settles for a couple of days can be his own. So, Amma is actually not convinced with this idea and refuses to leave her land to inhabit a new country. She stood rooted as a banyan tree in her own land. Now, she is like a banyan tree. She's compared to, it's a metaphor. She's compared to as a banyan tree. Banyan tree is bargad ka ped. For her, her land is the place where she came as a newlywed bride and where she gave birth to her children, where her sons and daughters got married and bore children. She fails to comprehend this strange bird called our land. उसे समझ में नहीं आता है कि ये our land, अपना देश या अपनी जगह क्या होगी. जिस जगह तुम पैदा हुए, बच्चे पैदा, जहाँ शादी होके आई, बच्चे पैदा हुए, बच्चों की शादियाँ हुई, जब वो जगह ही अपनी नहीं है तो फिर दूसरी कहीं जगह जाके अपन मूव कर जाते हैं, तो वो जगह हमारा देश कैसे हुआ. शी फेल्स टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट. सो she fails to comprehend this idea and she calls this a strange bird called our land. So Ismat Chugtai raises the point that for some people it may be easy to uproot themselves and move away from all that has been familiar to them, but Amma is not one of them. अम्मा उन लोगों में से नहीं है. अम्मा वो जड़ है, वो इसीलिए इसका कहानी का नाम है रूट्स, जड़, क्योंकि जड़ मूव नहीं कर सकती हैं. पत्ते, टहनियाँ, डालियाँ ये तो फिर भी अब काट काट के ले जाओ और आगे चले जाती हैं, बट वंस यू अप्रूट अ ट्री देन इट कैन नॉट बी रूटेड, स्पेशली एन ओल्ड ट्री, इट कैन नॉट बी फिक्स्ड इन अदर लैंड. सो हियर अम्मा इज कंपेयर्ड टू एज अ banyan tree. And when Amma's family members they leave for Pakistan, Amma is left alone and she feels quite scared. And then but she goes through the memory lane, अपना यादों की उस दुनिया में चली जाती हैं, that where she remembers that how she had come as a newlywed bride and where her children were born and where her husband was kept after where her husband's dead body was kept. She is going through all this and she's also feeling scared and she's also worried about the safety of her family members. In all these pages there's a description of she goes from one room to another and then she goes into the flashback and remembers what had happened in that courtyard or in that house and how her children played and lived happily. So she is wondering. And on the other side, Roopchandji is getting very agitated and very worried. When her family members of Amma, they had left, Roopchandji was pacing the veranda up and down. So, and when night had come, at that time, Roopchandji's wife, she brought food for Amma. She held 2 trays of food. The 2 old women sat across each other silently. And they were mute. Mute means chup, shant. They were mute, but the eyes communicated everything. The food trays remained untouched. When the 2 women indulge in backbiting, their tongues run like scissors, but when they are overwhelmed with emotion, their lips get sealed. Now here they are saying that even Roopchandji's wife did not eat anything. She had brought 2 thalis of food. She thought that both of them, she would feed Amma also, and both of them will have khana, but they were so emotionally overwhelmed that they did not touch the food. And alone in the house, Amma was oppressed by the feelings. She was feeling scared about the safety and especially about the Choti Bahu who was pregnant. And then she's praying that may Allah protect her baby in due any moment. So here in this story, Ismat Chugtai raises the question as to what makes an individual connected to a person, place and people. कि किस तरह से एक इंसान दूसरे इंसान से कनेक्ट होता है, जगह से कनेक्ट होता है, लोगों से कनेक्ट होता है. इज़ इट ओनली द कॉमन रिलीजन दैट फॉर्म्स द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट रिक्वायरमेंट? क्या सिर्फ एक धर्म का होना, लाइक इंडिया वॉज डिवाइडेड इंटू India and Pakistan into 2 countries, India and Pakistan, that is Hindus will remain in India and Muslims will migrate to Pakistan. तो इज़ द रिलीजन ओनली द कॉमन फैक्टर, कि सिर्फ एक रिलीजन के लोग होते हैं उससे देश बन जाता है? तो हियर इट रेजेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन that as to what makes an individual connected to a person, place, and people. Is it only the common religion that forms the most important requirement? If that is so, Amma, when left alone, was comforted and consoled by her Hindu neighbors and friends, like Dr. Roopchand ji and Mrs. Roopchand ji. They came over and consoled Amma. उन्होंने उनको सांत्वना दी, आश्वासन दिया. And Dr. Roopchand ji, they also brought back the family from the station. They brought back Amma's family from the station. So, nationality is not a piece of land that one inhabits it. Now, here Isma Chugtai tells it very clearly in this story. She says that nationality, Rashtrita, is not a piece of land that one inhabits. It is not just a legal relationship between an individual person and a state. It is also an emotional bonding which Amma does not have with the newly created nation Pakistan. अम्मा को पाकिस्तान अपना देश नहीं लगता है, अम्मा को हिंदुस्तान ही अपना देश लगता है, क्योंकि वहीं वो रही है, वहीं सब कुछ उसका हुआ है, उसकी शादी हुई है, उसके बच्चे पैदा हुए हैं और बच्चों की भी शादियाँ हुई हैं. सो दिस इज़ इमोशनल अटैचमेंट दैट शी हैज़, दिस इमोशनल बॉन्डिंग विच शी हैज़. That is why Amma does not have any kind of emotional bonding with the newly created nation Pakistan. So, despite the communal discord all around, Roopchand ji and Chachi retain their sanity and emotional equilibrium and bring about balance against senseless brutality and violence in the name of religion. So through this story, Isma Chugtai is trying to say that there are people who retain their sanity. वो अपना सोच को बहुत संभाल के रखते हैं और अपना इक्विलिब्रियम बैलेंस बना के रखते हैं. जो सेंसलेस ब्रूटैलिटी एंड वायलेंस चल रहा है इन द नेम ऑफ रिलीजन, जैसे ड्यूरिंग द पार्टीशन टाइम there was a lot of bloodshed and violence and atrocities were committed on each other by Hindus and Muslims both. So this say that during that time, during that period, during that scenario of senseless brutality and violence, so there were people like Roopchand ji and Amma that they were the voice of the sanity. So Roots is the story. It exhibits a ray of hope for communal harmony and peaceful coexistence. Like in the end, we see that Roopchand ji brings back the family of Amma, and Amma is in a very delirious state. She does not know what is happening. She is like half conscious and half unconscious. So when her children come over, she does not believe that her children have come back. So she feels that सब ghosts have come, कोई भूत आ गए हैं या कुछ इस तरह का वो imagine कर रही थी, because she was so scared. उनको लग रहा था कि उनकी family को कोई मार काट देगा, पटक देगा. But when Roopchand ji brings the family back and then she was in a half conscious state. So when Roopchand ji, as Amma opened her eyes, she felt the touch of the familiar fingers on her pulse. And Roopchand ji says, "Sorry, Bhabhi, if you want to see me, just send me the word. I'll be here. You need not fake illness." Again, Roopchand ji का वही वाला मजाक, पुराना वाला मजाक जो वो करते थे कि भाई भाभी जब भी आप बीमार हो, बीमारी का बहाना मत बनाओ, आप मुझे बुला लिया करो. So that is again the same sort of relationship is established. तो ये it delivers a message that friendship, goodwill and harmony, kindliness, togetherness, it has come back. And this sort of bonding, this sort of relation, sense of good vibrations. So Isma Chugtai in this story, with a balanced viewpoint, she never gave in to partition politics and communal agenda. So she herself, she did not go to Pakistan after the partition and decided to stay in India, where she passed away in 1991. So we can say that in a very balanced state, Ismat Chugtai raises the themes of nationality, belonging, and communal feelings, particularly between the Hindus and the Muslims. Communalism is a serious problem, as we have seen, that needs our attention, and various parts of a country are affected by communal violence every year. And communal riots and discord cause great damage to life and property. So, here in this story, Roots, it deals with the consequences and effects of partition. It relates to us the agony which the people faced in leaving their homeland to settle in an alien land. Alien मतलब बिल्कुल ही अजनबी. तो इस स्टोरी में सारे कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस और इफेक्ट्स ऑफ पार्टीशन दिखाए हैं. व्हेन वी रीड द स्टोरी वी कम टू नो अबाउट द agony of the people and the atrocities and the violence which was inflicted upon the Hindus and Muslims on both. So it relates to us the agony which the people faced in leaving their homeland to settle in an alien land, and the anguish of having to leave one's birthplace, business, friends, and culture for a new land, only to fulfill the political ambitions of a handful of people. ये सिर्फ राजनीतिक था. ये हर सब लोग ज़्यादा उसमें they did not feel like going to either India or Pakistan. They wanted to stay in the place where they were. But here she says that it is only to fulfill the political ambitions for a handful of people these people had to suffer. And this story also depicts the psyche of common men during the times of partition. That common men were not all that keen to move, but they had to move. So Ismat Chugtai gives a very, very balanced view in this story, and we never feel that she is taking part either of Hindu or of Muslims. So this is her forte. This is her special quality, that she exhibits a ray of hope for the communal harmony and peaceful coexistence through this story. So this is all for the story. We have discussed the story. I hope you have understood the theme of the story and the story itself. So this is all for now, and we will meet in a next session.